Incredible rescue. How baby puppy Ginger discovered the crying forest's hidden secrets in 30 days. In a town where dreams faded like the paint on the old storefronts, 12-year-old Sarah Morgan felt like an afterthought. Days merged into weeks, and as the weight of adult worries grew heavier at home, she often wandered into the nearby woods, hoping to escape the pressures of her small, struggling world. One crisp morning, as Sarah ventured deeper into the trees, she stumbled upon a scruffy, abandoned puppy. With matted fur and pleading brown eyes, the little creature yelped for help. In that moment, something shifted inside Sarah. She scooped the puppy into her arms, warmth radiating through her heavy heart, and named her Ginger. From the first cuddle, Sarah felt a connection she had longed for. Ginger became more than just a pet. She proved to be a beacon of hope. Returning home, Sarah introduced her to her skeptical family. "We can't afford another mouth to feed," her brother muttered. But the moment Ginger snuggled against Sarah, a spark ignited within their home, momentarily pushing aside the weight of struggles. Ginger had a gift, an uncanny ability to sense emotions. When Sarah felt sad, Ginger would nuzzle closer, her soft warmth melting the tension in Sarah's chest. The dog lit up their small living room, the air, once filled with worry now, crackling with a subtle magic. Whispered tales of the crying forest floated through Sarah's mind, a place reminiscent of ancient folklore, known to heal lost souls. She felt an exhilarating pull to uncover its secrets alongside Ginger. Feeling torn between the responsibilities of home and the obligations of a community in need, Sarah faced a storm of confusion. Inside school, ghost. At home, the weight of financial struggles hung like an anchor. But when Ginger darted energetically into the woods one afternoon, Sarah followed, her heart racing. The forest welcomed her with open arms, revealing hidden wonders, vibrant flowers and ancient trees glimmering with history. Sarah felt alive. Yet, growing excitement turned bittersweet. She longed to share her discoveries with her community, hoping to inspire wonder and healing. When she finally gathered her courage and spoke of the forest at the town hall, her excitement was met with sharp skepticism. "It's just a bunch of weeds," one elder scoffed. Doubts crept in, and the joy that wove her heart began to unravel. How could she, a mere girl, bring life back to a town that had forgotten how to dream? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. As Sarah struggled with feelings of loneliness, her bond with Ginger deepened. The little dog sensed her frustration, curling up next to her on long, quiet evenings. One night, as shadows danced across her room, Sarah realized that the forest could hold answers beyond foliage and flowers. What if it held the key to uniting their divided town? With determination flickering like a candle flame, Sarah felt a stirring in her heart. Could she organize a festival to share the forest's magic with the rattled townsfolk, to remind them of the beauty still lingering? Would they listen? As her mind swirled with ideas, she was suddenly electrified by the thought the forest was alive. And perhaps, just perhaps, it could help bring the town back to life too. But looming shadows of doubt persisted. As she stood at the edge of her plans, would her efforts be enough to mend a community divided by loss? The next morning, sunlight streamed through Sarah's bedroom window. It illuminated the dust particles dancing in the air, but the warmth couldn't lift the weight that settled in her chest. Heart still, racing from last night's thoughts, she reached for Ginger, who was curled snugly at her feet. The puppy's breathing was soft and rhythmic, a gentle reminder that she wasn't alone. "Today is the day," Sarah whispered, the determination in her voice growing. Today, she would share her plans more fully. The festival wasn't just a pipe dream, it was a lifeline. But as she got ready, doubts gnawed at the edges of her resolve. Would the townspeople laugh again? Would her heart break anew? With Ginger trotting beside her, they headed to school. The crisp air carried a hint of spring, yet uncertainty lingered like an old shadow. Every step felt monumental as Sarah walked through the school's worn hallways. Classmates flitted by, their eyes averted, consumed in their worlds. She tried to shake off the feeling of isolation, but it clung tightly. Lunch came and she gathered her courage, sitting at a table filled with chatter. She took a deep breath, and before she could talk herself out of it, Sarah turned to her classmates. "I want to bring life back to our town. I'm planning a festival in the woods." The laughter that erupted caught her off guard. It was loud and harsh, breaking her spirit in an instant. A festival? In the weeds, one boy jeered. The table erupted into more laughter, leaving her feeling like a small, invisible specter. Ginger pressed against her leg, sensing her pain. Sarah took a moment to gather herself. "It's not just weeds," she replied, her voice shaky but firm. "There's magic there. I know it." The laughter faded, replaced by a silence that felt heavy with disbelief. A girl at the other end of the table raised an eyebrow, the challenge evident in her eyes. "Magic? You really expect us to believe that?" Sarah's heart sank. She could head down the familiar path of retreat, just become that ghost again. But she wouldn't. She needed to try. "Come with me," she said. "Just once. Let's visit the forest together." The girl shrugged and turned back to her lunch. The others looked seemingly uninterested, but the flicker of excitement had ignited a fire within Sarah. That afternoon, Sarah slipped away from the school grounds with Ginger. They headed straight to the woods, each step feeling more electric than the last. Birds chirped overhead, and the leaves rustled like whispers of encouragement. When they broke through the trees into the clearing, Sarah paused. The hues of green were vibrant, the flowers bending toward the sky. This was the magic she wanted to share. But how could she capture this feeling? How could she convey the wonder that made her heart swell? Ginger raced ahead, chasing butterflies, her joy infectious. Sarah smiled, feeling the warmth pulse through her again. Then a small idea sparked. What if she could gather stories? Stories about the forest, about hope, about dreams. If she could collect them, perhaps others would begin to see the way she did. Returning home, she felt lighter, yet still uncertain about the reception of her plan. She had to be ready for more disbelief, but she felt stronger. Tomorrow, she would gather stories from anyone who would listen. Maybe, if enough voices united, the shadow of doubt would finally lift. Just as she was about to call it a night, a sudden gust of wind rattled the window. It swirled and whispered like the forest itself, inviting her to dream even bigger. Could the festival serve a greater purpose? Would it be a bridge that truly connected everyone? As she sank into sleep, a new thought mingled with her dreams. What if the forest could heal not just her town, but her family as well? With that thought swirling in her mind, Sarah drifted off, unaware of the adventures and challenges that awaited her and the unexpected ally that would soon step into her life. What would they discover together, and could it change everything? The next morning, Sarah awoke with a sense of purpose. The sun peeked through her curtains, illuminating the room and filling it with warmth. She stretched and glanced at Ginger, still snoozing peacefully, blissfully unaware of the tasks that lay ahead. Sarah's heart skipped a beat as the idea of gathering stories swirled in her mind like autumn, leaves dancing in the wind. While she had always kept the forest magic to herself, today felt different. Today, she would not walk alone in her dreams. She grabbed her notebook and wrote forest stories at the top of a fresh page. As she sat by her desk, she imagined what others would say. Would they trust her? Would they believe? After breakfast, she set off for school, her spirit buoyed. The crisp air invigorated her. She pictured herself asking her classmates about their memories, how they felt in the forest, the secrets it might be holding. Sarah quickened her pace, Ginger trotting beside her, tail wagging. Maybe today would be the day she found an unexpected ally. At lunch, the cafeteria buzzed with noise, students chatting and laughing. Sarah sat down with her lunch tray, her notebook open in front of her. She took a deep breath, trying to calm the butterflies that danced in her stomach. This was it. "Hey, everyone," she called out, her voice carrying over the din. A few heads turned, but she pushed forward. "I'm collecting stories about the forest for the festival. Who wants to share?" A boy across the table chuckled. Why would anyone want to talk about weeds? But this time, Sarah didn't flinch. "Because there's beauty in them," she replied, surprising even herself. "If we look closely, they tell stories." Some students rolled their eyes, but a curious girl with glasses leaned closer. "Like what?" "Like the summer I found a secret pond," Sarah began, her words flowing as she recounted magical moments spent in the woods. The way the sunrise painted the sky over the trees, the gentle rustle of leaves, and how the air always felt charged with life. As she spoke, the laughter faded, and a moment of reflection settled over the table. "That sounds nice," the girl said softly, and Sarah's heart swelled. Maybe there was hope after all. Ginger whimpered, nuzzling Sarah's leg, just as a chorus of giggles erupted from the far side of the cafeteria. Sarah turned to find the same boy who had mocked her. "You're a total dreamer, you know that. A festival in the woods." Ignoring him was easy now, the girl's intrigued expression fueling her confidence. "I'll make it real," she said, "and you'll see." The lunch bell rang, and Sarah grabbed her notebook. As she headed to her next class, the thrill of possibility danced within her. Half-hearted whispers followed her out, but she didn't care. She had planted a seed, and maybe, just maybe, it would grow. After school, Sarah raced home and headed straight for the woods. Ginger bounded ahead, barking with excitement. She felt lighter than air, as if the wind itself was leading her deeper into the trees. The clearing welcomed her back, vibrant and alive, and she sat down, opening her notebook. "Okay, forest," she whispered. "What stories can you tell me?" Time slipped away as she sketched the flowers, scribbled down thoughts, and embraced the silence that surrounded her. But then she felt a subtle shift in the air. The leaves rustled as if responding to her, and a faint sound tugged at her curiosity. It was a call, soft yet urgent. Something in the forest was reaching out, waiting for her. Breathless, Sarah stood up, clutching her notebook. What was that? She murmured to Ginger, feeling a pull deeper into the woods. And with that, they ventured further than ever before, unaware of the secrets that awaited just beyond the next bend. What would they find? Would this adventure finally reveal the forest's hidden heart? As Sarah and Ginger ventured deeper into the woods, the sounds around them transformed. The soft murmurs of the forest became more pronounced, whispering secrets in a language only the bravest could understand. The air felt thick with anticipation, and Sarah's heart raced as the call echoed again, drawing her closer to its source. With each step, even light danced through leaves, casting playful shadows on the ground. Sarah felt a rush of excitement and fear mingle in her chest. What would she discover? What hidden treasures lay just beyond her reach? "Come on, Ginger," she urged, her voice barely above a whisper. The puppy bounded ahead, always eager to explore, as if sensing the energy that pulsed through the trees. Sarah followed closely, utterly captivated by the beauty surrounding her, the vibrant greens, the fresh scent of pine, and the gentle rustle of unseen creatures hurrying about their own business. Suddenly, Ginger stopped, her ears perked. She looked back at Sarah and let out a soft whimper, an alert that something was amiss. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she approached, heart pounding louder than the fading call they had heard. "What is it, girl?" She crouched down beside her, searching the underbrush. And there, just a few steps away, was a tiny creature, a small, trembling fawn, its brown eyes wide with fear. It was tangled in the thorny brambles that had snuck up around it, crying out softly, as if begging for help. Oh no, Sarah breathed, her heart breaking for the little animal. She had never seen anything like this outside of a story. Without thinking, she approached slowly, ensuring her movements were gentle. "It's okay, little one. We're here to help." Ginger tilted her head, barking softly, as though encouraging the fawn. Sarah reached out her hand, speaking in soothing tones. "You're going to be okay," she whispered, the urgency of the situation dialing up her resolve. She needed to free the fawn, and fast. The last thing she wanted was for it to become more frightened. With careful hands, she began to untangle the thorns, every careful pull a reminder of the forest's beauty and its thorns. "Just a little bit more. You can do it," she encouraged, her empathy flowing through her fingertips. The fawn squirmed but remained calm, sensing the warmth of Sarah's presence. With one final tug, the last thorn released its grip, and the fawn stumbled free. "Yes!" Sarah exclaimed, relief washing over her. She stepped back, allowing the fawn to collect itself. It hesitated for a moment, looking up at Sarah with gratitude in its eyes. Then, as if on cue, it dashed away deeper into the woods, leaving Sarah and Ginger in shocked silence. "Did you see that, Ginger?" Sarah laughed, her joy bubbling over. Her mind was racing with excitement, her heart swelling with the thrill of the rescue. She couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than a simple moment. It tied to the very essence of the stories she wanted to uncover, the connections between all living things in the forest. And I did it with you, she said, affectionately patting Ginger's head. The forest has a lot more stories to tell, and we just found the first one. But as the thrill faded, a sudden thought crossed her mind. If she could save one small life, what else lurked in the shadows, waiting to be discovered? The sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the world in golden hues, casting long shadows through the trees. Let's keep going, she urged, a spark of determination igniting within her. As they pressed forward, an unshakable feeling washed over Sarah, the feeling that something much larger awaited her just ahead. A mystery woven into the very fabric of the forest. What could it be? The forest had already bestowed one surprise. What else lay hidden in its depths? Sarah tightened her grip on her notebook, ready to chase after whatever magic awaited them next. As Sarah and Ginger walked on, a gentle breeze ruffled the leaves above, sending dappled sunlight fluttering across the forest floor. Each rustle felt like an invitation, urging her to explore further. Her heart was still racing from the fawn's rescue, but now it beat with a different cadence, curiosity mixed with a touch of thrill. She glanced down at Ginger, who was prancing ahead, tail wagging like a flag of victory. What's next, girl? She wondered aloud, imagining the possibilities. With every step they took, the atmosphere seemed to shift. The sounds of the forest morphed again, becoming richer, almost musical. A strange melody hummed through the air, vibrating in her chest, igniting her sense of wonder. Maybe we're getting closer to the source of that call, Sarah mused. Her voice a hushed whisper as she followed Ginger's eager pace. The enchanting tune led them deeper into the thicket, where the trees grew thicker, almost protective, wrapping around them like guardians of some secret. As they rounded a bend, the world opened up. Before her lay a small clearing bathed in sunlight, revealing a shimmering pool at its center. Water lily floated serenely on the surface, and dragonflies flitted about like jewel-toned confetti. Sarah gasped, momentarily captivated by the beauty. Wow, Ginger, she said, kneeling down to get a closer look. This is breathtaking. Just then, a soft rustling pulled her attention. In the shadows at the edge of the clearing, she spotted movement. Something was watching them, something alive yet hidden. It was a young fox, its fur a bright reddish-orange, peeking through the underbrush. Its inquisitive eyes locked onto Sarah's, studying her with an intensity that sent a shiver of excitement down her spine. Look, Ginger, she nudged her puppy, who was too busy sniffing the grass. The fox seemed unafraid, its body relaxed but alert. It took a cautious step closer, then another, almost daring Sarah to move. Hey there, Sarah whispered, her voice tinged with awe. The fox paused, then turned and scampered back into the trees. A sense of disappointment washed over her. She felt like she was missing some connection, some thread that would pull the creatures together. Maybe it's a sign, she thought. If we keep quiet enough, the forest might just share more of its secrets. Sarah took a deep breath, trying to focus on the melodies in the air. It felt like the woods were alive with stories waiting to be told. As she settled into the surrounding peace, she pulled out her notebook, its crisp pages eager for fresh discoveries. Just as she began to sketch the serene scene, a sudden cry broke the tranquil moment. It was faint but unmistakable, a desperate, echoing wail that sliced through the beauty of the clearing. Startled, Sarah glanced at Ginger, who stood stock-still, ears perked high, body tense. What was that? Her heart thundered again, a wild rhythm matched only by her rapidly widening eyes. The previous thrill of discovery was replaced with urgency and instinctual pull to act. "Come on, Jing," she urged, rising to her feet. "We've got another rescue to make." Together, they made their way toward the sound, uncertainty swirling alongside her excitement. Whatever awaited them next, Sarah could feel it deep in her bones. Something bigger was at play, and she was ready to uncover the mystery of the forest, no matter the cost. What awaited her beyond the next bend? Would they uncover yet another hidden life in need of help, or perhaps something more significant than she had ever imagined? The leaves whispered overhead as Sarah and Ginger followed the echo of the haunting cry. Each step felt heavier, with anticipation, a mix of fear and hope thrumming through her veins. The sound was faint but insistent, leading them onward, deeper into the woods where shadows danced playfully yet ominously around them. Ginger trotted at her side, her little paws falling silently on the leaf-strewn path. Sarah kept glancing down at her puppy, comforted by her unwavering companionship. "Stay close, girl," she murmured, though her heart pulsed louder with every yelp they approached. As they pushed through a thicket of brambles, the trees began to thin. The wailing grew clearer now, a frantic plea that twisted into Sarah's gut. She quickened her pace, navigating through the tangles, and finally burst into a small opening. It was another clearing, but this one felt different, charged with tension, as if the very air were holding its breath. In the center, a collapsed figure lay on the ground. Its leg caught awkwardly in the roots of a twisted tree. Panic surged within her. The creature's large eyes mirrored deep fear, and Sarah could almost feel its heart racing. Oh no. She breathed, instinctively kneeling beside the fawn. Ginger, sensing the urgency, sniffed cautiously around, her playful demeanor replaced with a focus that belied her puppy status. "It's okay," Sarah cooed softly, trying to ease the fawn's apprehension. "I'm here to help." The fawn responded to her voice, its doe-like eyes locking onto hers, glistening with unshed tears of distress. Sarah's heart ached. She carefully reached out to examine its leg, noting the way it trembled under her touch. "Ginger, stay," Sarah commanded gently, placing a hand on the puppy to keep her from getting too close. She needed to concentrate. Crouch, dont Sarah considered her next steps. It wouldn't be easy. She could feel the heat radiating from the fawn's body, a panic and a will to flee that battled within. But Sarah knew they were out of options. They had to free it. She leaned closer, whispering calming words as she assessed the roots, winding tightly around the leg. The fawn's panic intensified as it struggled. "No, don't fight," she urged, her heart racing in time with its movements. "I'm trying to help you." Drawing a deep breath, Sarah explored the roots. They were thick and stubborn, but she spotted a way to pull them back without dislocating the fawn's leg. Slowly and methodically, she tugged and pushed, doing her best to be gentle even as adrenaline bubbled in her chest. With every grunt and hiccup, the fawn let out plaintive cries, a sound that pierced through the air, knocking the rhythm of the forest onto a distracting beat. But it was Ginger who suddenly drew Sarah's attention, barking softly, sensing the fawn's distress in her own puppy heart. "Ginger," Sarah turned sharply. "I need you to help me." As if sensing the urgency, Ginger began to nudge closer, sitting right beside the fawn, letting her warmth spread. It was a strange yet touching sight, this tiny creature offering comfort to the bigger one. The fawn hesitated, then turned its gaze from Sarah to the puppy. In that fleeting moment, a bond sparked, a shared understanding amidst the chaos. The fawn seemed to hold still, trusting Sarah for just a second longer. With one last careful tug, the roots gave way. The fawn's leg slipped free, but not without a startled kick. Easy now. Sarah yelped, pulling back as it stumbled upright, its legs shaky but free. Just before it could bolt, it paused, looking back at Sarah and Ginger. It seemed to hesitate, as if weighing its options: stay and trust these two strange creatures who helped it, or flee back into the dense woods. Then, as if making a choice guided by instinct, the fawn bounded away, disappearing into the cover of trees, leaving Sarah and Ginger alone once again. Did we just do that? Sarah whispered, disbelief mixing with awe. She hugged Ginger tight, not quite sure what to feel. The thrill of the rescue, mixed with uncertainty. Was this all just a chance encounter, or something more? And then, as if in answer, a low growl rolled through the trees, sending a chill down her spine. What now? Ginger, she whispered, I think we're not done here yet. Tension hung in the air, as if the woods held a collective breath. Sarah's heart raced, reverberating in her chest like the pounding of distant drums. What was out there, waiting for them beyond the shelter of the clearing? The growl came again, a deep rumble that echoed through the trees. Ginger's ears perked up, her playful spirit transformed into alertness. The puppy's tiny body quivered beside her, clearly aware that they were not alone. Stay close, Ginger, Sarah urged, her voice steady despite her fear. She could feel the weight of the woods, the silent eyes watching from the shadows. Bracing herself, she took a small step forward, eyes scanning the dense thicket. Another growl interrupted the stillness, closer this time. A chill ran down Sarah's spine. Was this a predator? Had they drawn attention to themselves while tending to the fawn? She backed up instinctively, grabbing Ginger's collar as she did so. The puppy looked up at her, eyes wide and trusting, seemingly unbothered by the ominous sounds. Sarah took a deep breath, grounding herself. Let's find out what it is, together. With cautious resolve, Sarah edged deeper into the woods, drawn by an inexplicable mix of dread and curiosity. The growls carried a rhythm of warning, almost like a refrain, beckoning her to uncover the source. Each step felt electric, a pulse catching her breath. The trees thickened again, their branches twisted like grasping hands. Something flickered at the corner of her eye, a shadow against a backdrop of greenery. She turned, heart pounding louder now, feeling as if she were on the cusp of something monumental. As she rounded a gnarled oak, the source of the noise revealed itself, a pair of wolves. Sleek and muscular, their backs lit by dappled sunlight. The alpha stood protectively in front of a small den, its golden eyes drilling into Sarah's soul, examining her with cautious authority. Ginger whined softly, but Sarah pulled her back to her side. This wasn't their fight, and she needed to be smart. Keeping a calm facade, she examined the situation. The wolves appeared, more curious than aggressive, their growls softening into low rumbles as they sized up the newcomers. Easy now, Sarah whispered, her voice filled with resolve and respect for the wild creatures. I didn't mean to disturb you. We were just helping. Her sentence drifted off as the wolves shifted, their posture changing. To her surprise, the alpha lowered its head slightly, a gesture she did not expect. It was as if the wolf recognized their earlier actions, the fawn, the instinct to help. A connection sparkled in the air as they exchanged glances, something deeply primal yet profoundly human weaving between them. Ginger, emboldened by her owner's calmness, stepped forward slightly, nose twitching in curiosity. The tension slipped, replaced by a moment of shared understanding, two separate worlds colliding for an instant. "See, Ginger," Sarah remarked softly, her heart thawing as she felt a pull to these creatures. "They're not here to hurt us." But just as she began to relax, a sharp bark broke the connection. Another wolf emerged from the underbrush, this one smaller and seemingly wounded, limping towards the den. Panic surged anew. The instinct to help kicked in once more, and without thinking, Sarah took a step forward. "Oh no!" "Wait," she called back to herself, realizing her impulse could derail so much. This was their territory, and she had to respect their ways. Yet something in her urged her to act, the same force that had propelled her to rescue the fawn. The wolves watched her, body language shifting slightly, gauging her next move. Was this a test? Did the forest need her beyond helping just the fawn? A fresh determination ignited within. Perhaps it was time to bridge the gap between human and nature. "Ginger," Sarah whispered, dropping down beside the hurt wolf at a safe distance. "Let's see if we can help, too." The forest erupted in the sound of rustling leaves and snapping twigs. Had they been followed? The atmosphere thickened with urgency, brimming with possibilities yet to be discovered. Sarah glanced back at Ginger, uncertainty swirling in her gut. "What do you think, girl? Are we ready for this?" The puppy looked up, ears perked, ready for whatever came next. As the growls faded and the unfamiliar sounds swirled around them, one question loomed large in her mind. Can we rewrite the story of survival here? The rustling intensified, as if the very leaves were alive, ready to spill their secrets. Heart pounding, Sarah's gaze darted around, searching for the source of the commotion. Was it danger, or merely a creature disturbed by their presence? Ginger remained alert, muscles tensed beside Sarah. "Stay close," Sarah gently reminded her again, though her own voice trembled with apprehension. The newly arrived wolf, limping and feeble, caught her full attention. She had to get closer. But as she moved forward ever so carefully, the alpha wolf raised its head, eyes glimmering with an intensity that made her pause. There was something almost regal about its stance, as if it was weighing the risk of allowing her near its pack. "Hey there!" She spoke softly, grounding herself with every word. "I just want to help." The injured wolf shifted closer to its den, whimpering softly, reminding Sarah of a friend in pain. Instinct kicked in again. She felt drawn to this creature, the weight of the moment settling heavy on her chest. If she didn't act now, she might regret it. But the forest itself seemed to hold its breath, pushing her toward a choice. The connection with the alpha surged stronger. There was depth in those eyes. It was a silent warning and an invitation all at once. With newfound determination, Sarah knelt down, palms open and vulnerable. "I come in peace." The words felt raw, yet she meant them. There was a harmony lurking in the woods, and she sensed this could be part of it. The quiet was thick, punctuated only by the wounded wolf's soft whines, Sarah tilted her head as she addressed it. "Come here. I won't hurt you. Just let me help." The alpha remained still, its body tense. But the wounded one hesitated, glancing between Sarah and the alpha, as though seeking approval. Time stretched, and Sarah held her breath, waiting for the decision. Then it happened the injured wolf took a shaky step forward. The moment, both exhilarating and terrifying, like walking a tightrope over a chasm. Ginger remained at Sarah's side, courage radiating from her tiny form. In that beat of silence, everything around them seemed to vibrate with electricity. The bonds of understanding spiraled outward, connecting them deeper than mere instinct. It felt as if the forest had summoned her for this very moment for something larger than she could ever see. "Easy now," she cooed, inching closer. Her fingers brushed against the earthy ground, reminding her that they were all part of the same cycle. With each movement, she felt herself merge with the wildness surrounding her. As she reached out further, she felt the warmth of the wolf's body, tremoring under her touch, hope ignited in her heart. Maybe, just maybe, she could help mend this creature, stitched together across the divide between human and nature. Suddenly, the clearing shifted. A faint rustling morphed into loud crashing. Shadows flashed through the trees. The alpha wolf turned sharply, the tension wrapped around it like a taut bowstring. Sarah's heart sank. What now? The urgency in the air was palpable, escalating as sounds of large creatures approached. In a panic, she backed away, instinctively pulling Ginger closer. "We need to go." But the wolves did not retreat. They stood their ground, preparing to defend. A knot twisted in Sarah's stomach. What lay ahead? Was danger closing in? And did she have the courage to stay and face it with the wolves? Or would she turn away before the story could truly unfold? With her heart racing and choices looming, one thought echoed in her mind. Drowning out the noise, can she confront this unexpected danger, or was this just the beginning of a greater journey? The crashing grew louder, branches snapping under the weight of whatever was coming. Sarah felt the earth beneath her shake, adding to the disarray in her mind. The alpha wolf faced the threat head-on, muscles coiling, ready to spring. The injured wolf, now close enough for Sarah to see its fearful eyes, looked up at her as if asking for reassurance. "Stay with me," Sarah whispered, hoping it could sense her determination. She knew they were all in this together, now a fragile alliance forged in desperation. Suddenly, a figure burst through the underbrush, sending leaves fluttering like startled birds. Sarah gasped, but to her surprise, it was a young deer, seemingly caught in a panic as it dashed away from unseen chaos. Its hooves kicked up dirt and leaves, adding to the tumult. The alpha didn't waver, only narrowed its eyes at the emerging threat. Sarah watched as the pack shifted. They needed a leader to signal them, a voice to harness both strength and respect. The sight of the wolves standing united filled her with admiration. But her feelings quickly clouded with anxiety. Tall grass rustled again. Shadows danced between the trees, dark and looming, drawing closer. The alpha wolf growled softly, a warning sound that vibrated in the air. Sarah scanned the forest, wondering if they could really protect one another when danger struck. Clenching her hands into fists, she took a step back. "Maybe we should go," she murmured, a part of her trying to convince herself. Still, she was rooted in place. The wolves, resolute, filled her with an unusual bravery. She wanted to trust the forest, to trust this pack. What should I do? The words spilled from her lips, hardly noticeable above the cacophony. She felt small, lost amidst the primal thrum of nature, yet her resolve began to harden. "Do you understand me?" she asked, glancing at the Alpha. "We can face this together. We can." Her voice faltered. Could she really shoulder this weight? The rustling intensified again, and then it happened. A massive shape emerged, silhouetted against the dappled sunlight. A bear, its coat thick and dark, lumbered forward, its deep growls echoing a warning as it approached. A chill crept through Sarah, but she couldn't retreat now. Not when the wolves were standing firm. The Alpha sniffed the air, eyes locked on the bear. There was a fierce determination there, something primal yet deeply rooted in loyalty. Sarah stood beside Ginger, adrenaline igniting her senses. There was no going back. She took a breath, recalling the rhythm of her heart. It matched the wildness of the scene unfolding around her. "Okay, we face this," she said softly to Ginger, who looked up at her, wide-eyed but brave. It was a comfort to have something beside her in this moment of fear. As the bear advanced, the Alpha lifted its head and let out a deep, resonating howl. It echoed through the woods, challenging the bear and calling the other wolves to unite. And suddenly, an unexpected alliance blossomed among the onlookers. The deer slowed its frantic pace, drawn in by the call. Other forest creatures paused, sensing the tension but curious about the unfolding drama. Something shifted in the air, a strange harmony amidst chaos. Sarah's breath caught as the wolves circled around the tree line, ready to defend what was theirs, ready to face whatever darkness came. "You're not alone," she felt deep in her heart, realizing that they were all connected in this moment. The standoff drew closer, the energy electric. Time hung suspended, and she thought of all she had faced to arrive at this point. What would happen next? Would the wolves and the bear clash, or could they find common ground? The forest trembled with anticipation, mirroring the tumult in her heart. Sarah glanced down at Ginger, then back to the Alpha. "Let's do this together," she breathed, ready to embrace the storm. But as she braced for the confrontation, an unexpected sound pierced through the chaos, an urgent cry, sharp and clear, slicing through the tension of the moment. What now? Who or what was calling in the heart of the woods? The urgent cry rang through the clearing, sharp and insistent, grounding everyone in the present moment. Sarah's heart raced, torn between the chaotic scene unfolding before her and the mysterious call that elevated her senses. Ginger whimpered quietly, shifting on her paws, aware that something important was unfolding. The bear stopped, its gaze flicking from the wolves to the source of the cry. The Alpha, Wolf, lifted its head, ears keenly tuned into the forest whispers. The pack stood their ground, united by instinct. "Please, let it be something good," Sarah breathed, steeling herself against the impending chaos. Every moment peeled away layers of her fear, urging her to trust the magic of the woods. The call sounded again, this time softer and almost pleading, echoing the urgency of the scene around them. As if on cue, a familiar figure emerged from the brush, a doe. Limping but determined, stepping gingerly towards the clearing. The deer turned, revealing a small fawn nipping at her ankles, its tiny legs wobbling with each step. A rush of relief swept through Sarah. "The fawn!" she exclaimed, glancing excitedly at Ginger. But The forest was evidently torn. The bear snorted, recognizing the newcomer, and the wolves were equally involved. Sarah felt an electricity in the air, a strange mixture of hope and trepidation. Would the bear see the doe and her fawn as an opportunity or a threat? "Stay back, Ginger," Sarah whispered as the doe cautiously stepped forward, nudging her fawn towards the safety of the tree line. The bear, sensing the shift in the atmosphere, huffed loudly, baring its teeth but also contemplating its next move. The fawn, taking in the wilderness around it, chose this moment to dart towards Sarah. "Come here, little one." Sarah called gently, realizing that the future of this encounter rested on her shoulders. The pack of wolves shifted slightly, allowing this unlikely ally through, while the bear watched closely, its presence colossal and commanding. The fawn, still trembling from its earlier trauma, froze near Sarah, drawing in her warmth, a soft and innocent reminder of vulnerability. The doe returned to guide her young back to safety, but the bear's eyes remained fixated on the situation. Everything around them felt alive like a tightly strung bow, ready to snap. Sarah's pulse quickened as she made a decision. "We're all part of this story," she said softly, addressing both the gentle creatures and the majestic bear. "You all deserve to coexist in this beautiful forest." Her words traveled into the silence, seeking to unite rather than divide. The alpha wolf stood by her side, letting out a low, resonating howl that seemed to reset the tension in the air. Sarah found strength in the sound, in the communion of every creature present. With newfound courage, she stepped out, slowly moving towards the bear, creating a bridge between the wolf pack and the looming threat. "I know you may see them as prey," she addressed the bear, her words flowing like honey. "But all of us share this home. We can protect each other. Together, you don't have to be alone." It was an extraordinary moment, suspended in time, and every creature around her paused. The doe looked up, recognizing the sincerity of her intent, and the fawn nestled closer, its little heart racing against uncertainty. Then the bear took a deep breath, lowering its menace. The growls faded to an inquisitive grunt, a sign that began to shift the tide. It studied Sarah, as if weighing her commitment, choosing to see her as an ally instead of a hindrance. Slowly, it stepped back, reassessing the situation, almost willing to accept this strange offering of alliance that hung in the air. "Can you see? Can you feel it?" Sarah almost pleaded, now standing firmly between these worlds. And in that moment, something remarkable happened. The alpha wolf relaxed, head high, and the rest of the pack mirrored its energy, forming a wall of unity, two worlds intertwined, now under Sarah's resolve. The forest responded, fluttering with whispers as if celebrating the connection. With one last look toward the fawn, the bear turned gracefully, lumbering back into the trees, now a guardian instead of a threat. The forest exhaled, a sigh of relief, rippling through the woods as the creatures felt a shifter, promise echoing of a collision avoided. And then silence, deep and echoing around them, a sacred moment shared among steadfast allies. As Sarah's heart swelled with hope, she turned to Ginger, who looked so proudly at her. Tears brimmed in Sarah's eyes, welling with the magnitude of what they had all just witnessed. "We did it, girl," she whispered, drawing Ginger close. "We brought them together." The stories of the forest unfolded around them, whispers of magic weaving through the shadows. With every heartbeat, Sarah, knew she had ignited something profound, a promise of unity. What would come next? The forest was now alive in a way she couldn't have foreseen. But they had each other, and the strength of the wilderness united. "Let's go home," Sarah said softly, eyes bright with anticipation for the future and all the stories still waiting to be uncovered. With Ginger prancing at her side, they began their journey back through the whispering leaves, heartened by the possibilities yet to come. And just like that, Sarah understood that the real magic existed not in rescuing creatures, but in igniting connections stirring hope, love, and a promise that could mend even the oldest wounds. Now, it was time for her to bring that magic back to her town. The festival was just the beginning. If you felt touched by Sarah's journey, if it ignited a spark of inspiration in you, don't wait. You need to subscribe now to our channel. Leave a like. Your support helps spread these stories far and wide. Comment below with your thoughts on Sarah and Ginger's transformation. We want to hear your feelings about this ending. And share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this change. Let's fill hearts with hope together. This is the moment to show your support and build a community that believes in transformation. Don't wait, not even one more second, to join us.